tenants nowadays are actually better organized than the landlords. Landlords are so very different. Some landlords only have 1 or 2 properties, and some landlords have maybe 20,000 properties. So we've had this advantage from the tenant side to be better organized. What is the most common problem? And that would be to regain the deposit from the landlords. Mm-hmm. And in some countries, you have to deposit it on a certain account by which is linked to the city or the country. But in some countries, it just goes directly to the landlord. And then it's very difficult for the tenants to regain the deposit. We've had issues with the European Union because the housing as such is not a competence of the European Union. But we have issues like state aid, social issues like homelessness and competition. And there's been 3 cases that the private landlords association in Brussels have launched. And the first one was against the Swedish state because the private property owners, they said that the Swedish state subsidizes housing too much. And then there was a second case against the Dutch government, Dutch government, and said too many people in the Netherlands are eligible for social housing. So about now it's like 40% income-wise are eligible for social housing. But the EU Commission, they wanted to lower it to maybe 20-25. So that was a big issue. And then we had the French case. According to the laws, about 60% of all French households are eligible for social housing. And that was way too high, according to the Commission. Often, the Swedes are always the best in the class. They said, okay, we will change our system. The Dutch, they said, okay, we will change it a little. And the French say, we won't do anything. So these are 3 countries where, let's say, housing has been very much debated. Also where the landlords, of course, have intervened because they want a very small social sector and a bigger private rental sector, of course, for them. It's better for them, of course. We had particular problems perhaps in Eastern Europe, in countries like Poland and Czech Republic and other countries. It was sort of a historical thing. Before in 1991 or 89, all tenants, they lived in, let's say, state-owned housing. And then there was a rule for the European Union. If you would like to join the European Union, you had to go through restitution. That means handing back property to the owners before World War II. And that included farms and also houses in cities. So now suddenly some tenants ended up with a private landlord living perhaps in Buenos Aires or in Stockholm or in Barcelona. And this has been a big problem, and we've been fighting a lot with these landlords because they are some of them have sold their property to some national owners, and they can be very harsh to the tenants. They cut off the wires, they turn off the water, the heating in the wintertime. And of course, most of these people are elderly people who have lived in their flats maybe for 40, 50 years. And we try to reach these landlords, but they are difficult because they live in other countries and it's difficult to get hold of them.